The Arizona sunset bathed the worn kitchen in a deceptively warm glow as a storm I never saw coming brewed behind my back. When my Uncle Robert sent me a shaky video he'd secretly recorded, I thought it was some mistake, until I pressed play and heard the words that would forever change the way I saw my family. There they were, my parents, Diane and Martin, and my older brother Ethan, sitting at the same kitchen table where we'd once shared countless family meals. But this time, they were tearing me apart with their words, unaware of the camera capturing every poisonous sentence. "Charlotte only helps because she owes us," my mother Diane spat, her voice laced with contempt that cut deeper than any knife. Ethan, always so smug, chuckled as he added, "Yeah, and she acts like she's doing us some huge favor. What a joke." Worst of all was my father Martin's silent nod of agreement. The same man who had once taught me to ride a bike and held my hand when I was afraid of thunderstorms. In that moment, the warmth of every childhood memory shattered. For years, I, Charlotte, had been quietly paying most of their mortgage through my company, Horizon Investments, LLC. They thought they were sending small monthly payments to a faceless bank, never realizing I was the one keeping a roof over their heads. My financial advisor, Grace, had suggested the plan years ago, knowing it would protect me legally and allow them to keep their pride intact. It had seemed perfect. They kept their dignity, and I kept them safe. But as I listened to them call me a worthless burden, while I was the very reason they weren't homeless, it felt like every dollar I'd sacrificed had been a mistake. Uncle Robert's message came moments after the video. "You needed to see this, Charlotte." I couldn't stay quiet anymore. The betrayal wasn't new to him. He'd seen it building over the years, but for me, it was a gut punch I hadn't expected. A cruel awakening to a truth I had tried so hard to deny. I was 31, a successful software development manager, but to them, I would always be the rebellious daughter who had refused to take over the family's struggling real estate business. As the Arizona night crept in around me, I felt a strange calm settle over my anger. The mortgage payment was due in 2 weeks, and for the first time, I knew exactly what I needed to do. I wouldn't be their silent safety net any longer. The video didn't just expose their disdain. It gave me the clarity I needed to stop enabling the very people who saw my love and support as an obligation rather than a gift. This time, I was ready to let them face the consequences of their own choices. I stared at the spreadsheets open on my laptop, each line a testament to years of sacrifice they never appreciated. Every month, Charlotte Investments, LLC, the company I had formed with Grace's guidance, transferred thousands of dollars to cover the mortgage on my parents' Phoenix home. Horizon Investments, they thought, was just the bank's name printed on their statements. They never read the fine print. They never knew it was me. I remembered vividly the day Grace and I crafted the plan. I was only 27 then, young but already thriving in my career. Meanwhile, the real estate market had crashed, and my family's finances were in free fall. My brother Ethan had been given control of our father Martin's real estate business, and within 2 years, he nearly bankrupted it with reckless investments and arrogant mismanagement. My parents' dream of passing the family company to their golden son was crumbling. Yet instead of seeing his failures, they doubled down on blaming me for leaving the family business behind. I still recall Grace's words when I explained how desperate I was to help them without becoming their emotional punching bag. "Buy the house through your own LLC," she suggested calmly. "Let them think they're paying a bank, and you'll retain full control if things go south. They keep their pride, and you protect yourself." It was a perfect plan, or so I thought. They got to feel independent while I became the invisible safety net, quietly catching them every time they stumbled. For 4 years, I honored that plan religiously. Month after month, my parents' small contributions trickled into the account, and Horizon Investments picked up the rest. They went about their lives, blissfully unaware that without my help, they would have lost the house years ago. Every family holiday, every tense Sunday dinner, I smiled and played the dutiful daughter, even when Diane and Ethan tossed subtle insults about my meaningless tech job. I swallowed it all because I thought family was worth the pain. But now, after seeing the video, the truth was impossible to ignore. They hadn't just misunderstood me. They despised me. They resented my independence, my success, and the power I held without their approval. And worst of all, they felt entitled to everything I had built for myself. As I sifted through the old mortgage documents Grace had prepared, one clause jumped out at me: the purchase option. If they missed even a single payment, Horizon Investments could immediately assume full ownership of the property, and my family would become tenants overnight. It had been a safety net for me, a last resort I hoped never to use. Now it felt like a lifeline, not for them, but for myself, because this time, I wasn't going to rescue them again. I was ready to let them fall, to learn what it meant to stand on their own, or face the consequences of their own arrogance. The morning after watching the video, I awoke to a new message from Uncle Robert, more proof of what my family truly thought of me. He'd sent screenshots of a secret group chat titled Family Funds that included my parents and Ethan, but not me. They had created it 6 months earlier, using it to mock me behind my back and strategize how to squeeze more money out of me. Reading their words felt like a fresh slap across the face. "Charlotte thinks she's so special with her tech job," Ethan had typed. "She barely helps with the mortgage, while I'm here every day trying to keep Dad's business alive." The irony was staggering. He didn't know that the only reason he still had a roof over his head was because I'd been covering his mess. My mother's response was even worse. "We should ask her for more," Diane wrote coldly. "She's single with no kids. What else is she spending her money on? After everything we sacrificed to raise her, she should at least support her family properly." The words blurred as tears stung my eyes. Their self-righteous entitlement was overwhelming. I pulled up my records. Over the last 4 years, I had contributed nearly $270,000 toward the mortgage, while they'd only paid $52,500 in total. They had no clue I was quietly covering over $5,000 every single month. My anger gave way to a clear, cold determination. They needed to learn the truth. As if fate wanted to twist the knife further, my phone buzzed with a text from my mother while I was still reading the group chat. "Sweetheart, can you come to dinner this Sunday? We have something important to discuss." The fake sweetness of her words felt like poison. I knew exactly what the dinner was about. They were planning to ask for more money, probably armed with the guilt and emotional manipulation they wielded so well. I knew I couldn't face them alone. I forwarded everything, the group chat screenshots, the video, and my payment records, to Grace. Her reply came quickly. "Charlotte, this changes everything. You have every legal and moral right to protect yourself now. Are you ready to consider exercising the purchase option if they default?" For the first time in years, I felt truly powerful. The weight of their constant judgment lifted from my shoulders. Their secret chats and whispered plans had exposed them completely. I had proof they weren't simply ungrateful. They were actively plotting against me while taking advantage of my generosity. As I sat in my home office, surrounded by years of bank statements and contracts, I realized something profound. I wasn't the helpless daughter they thought they could manipulate. I was the one holding the keys to everything they cared about. And soon, they would see exactly what that meant. Sunday evening arrived with an unsettling calm. I pulled up to the familiar stucco house just as the Arizona sun slipped below the horizon, painting the desert sky in fiery oranges and purples. This place had been my childhood home, but tonight it felt like enemy territory. The porch light glowed invitingly, masking the storm brewing inside. Diane greeted me at the door with a hug that felt rehearsed, her diamond bracelet catching the light. A new luxury, no doubt funded by money that should have gone to the mortgage. "Charlotte, sweetheart," she cooed, "we're so glad you could make time for your family." Her words dripped with sugary poison. Ethan sat at the dining table looking smug in his carefully pressed shirt. "Hey sis," he said, his tone condescending. "Nice of you to remember where your family lives." I forced a polite smile, my mind replaying every cruel message he'd written in the group chat. Martin emerged from his study, clutching a stack of papers I recognized instantly, bank statements. He glanced up at me, his eyes hard, calculating. They were clearly preparing their pitch carefully, like salespeople about to close a deal. Diane set a steaming lasagna on the table, my childhood favorite, a calculated attempt to evoke nostalgia. As we took our seats, the conversation shifted quickly from small talk to the real reason for the dinner. "Before we eat," Diane began, her hand resting dramatically on mine. "We wanted to talk about something important." Martin nodded, assuming his usual air of patriarchal authority. "Charlotte, you know times have been tough. The market isn't what it used to be," he lied smoothly. The Phoenix housing market was booming, but Ethan's incompetence had tanked the family business. "Your mother and I have given you so much," he continued, voice rising. "And now we're asking you to step up for the family." Diane squeezed my hand theatrically. We were hoping you could contribute an extra $2,000 a month toward the mortgage. It's really not much, considering how successful you are. I took a slow bite of lasagna to hide my rage. They wanted $2,000 more on top of the $5,400 I was already paying. Money they had no clue I was covering. The audacity was staggering. I'll think about it, I replied evenly, setting down my fork. Things are uncertain right now. Buakarha. Ethan scoffed, his smirk widening. Uncertain? Please, we all know you're doing fine, unlike those of us keeping this family afloat. My father's eyes narrowed in agreement, and my mother's face glowed with smug anticipation. I nearly laughed at the absurdity. They were sitting in a house I owned, eating food I'd indirectly paid for, planning to demand even more, but I kept my expression neutral. I couldn't reveal my hand yet. I'll get back to you in about 8 days, I said, my voice calm, knowing the mortgage payment was due in exactly that time. They didn't realize they had just started a countdown to their reckoning. Dinner ended with polite goodbyes and hollow smiles, but the act dropped the moment I excused myself, pretending to use the bathroom. I slipped past the cracked door of Martin's study, drawn by low, urgent voices inside. My heart pounded as I caught the first words. She's not going to help, Ethan hissed, his voice tinged with bitterness. Did you see how she just sat there, acting so superior with her stupid tech money while our business struggles? Patience, Martin replied coldly. We have other options. His tone made my skin crawl. Remember those investment documents I found when she used our Wi-Fi last month? She's been hiding money from us in that company, Horizon Investments. A chill ran down my spine. They'd snooped through my files the last time I visited, when I'd carelessly connected to their Wi-Fi without a VPN. My cloud storage had synced automatically, and they'd found records of my LLC. I realized then how deep their sense of entitlement went. They didn't just want my help, they felt they owned everything I had. I looked it up, Martin continued, voice dark with satisfaction. It's a legitimate LLC, and it's been making good money. She's been squirreling away cash there instead of helping us. She thinks she's so clever. Diane's voice, usually syrupy sweet, took on a venomous edge. We'll give her one more chance to offer the money voluntarily, she snapped. And if she refuses, we'll remind her about that time in college when she borrowed from the business account for tuition. She thought we never knew, but we have proof. I clenched my fist to keep from bursting into the room. They were planning blackmail over a loan I'd taken with Martin's permission years ago, when his check for my tuition bounced. A loan I repaid within a month, with interest, complete with emails proving everything. Ethan let out a cruel laugh. And if that doesn't work, he added casually, I'll reach out to her HR department. I have friends in tech recruitment, a few rumors about her mental stability, maybe some questions about her using company resources for personal projects. That'll get her attention. Their easy willingness to destroy my livelihood made my blood run cold. These people weren't just ungrateful, they were predators who saw me as prey. They would stoop to blackmail, slander, even threats to my career, all to get what they felt entitled to. I slipped back to the bathroom, flushed the toilet for show, and rejoined them with my best mask of cheerful composure. Every hug, every smile felt like poison, but inside my resolve solidified. They thought they had leverage, but they had underestimated how prepared I was, and how far I was willing to go to protect myself from the family who saw me as nothing more than a walking ATM. The ride home from that dinner felt like the longest drive of my life. Every mile gave me time to replay their words in my mind, each sentence confirming what I already knew. They would do anything to keep me under their thumb. But they didn't realize I was already 2 steps ahead. As soon as I walked into my apartment, I called Grace. They went through my files, Grace, I said, my voice trembling but steady. They know about Horizon Investments. They're planning to blackmail me. I'm not surprised, Grace replied softly. I've seen this happen before with clients and manipulative families. Are you ready to use the purchase option if they miss the next payment? I closed my eyes, picturing Diane's fake tears, Martin's smug nod, Ethan's sneer. I remembered the years of insults, the way they used my successes against me, the constant reminders of how much I supposedly owed them. My answer came easily. Yes, I'm ready. Good, Grace said firmly. The contract is airtight. They signed it willingly 4 years ago, desperate for help. If they miss even one payment, Horizon Investments has the legal right to exercise the purchase option immediately. The house will become yours outright, and there'll be tenants paying you monthly rent. If they fail to pay rent, standard Arizona eviction laws apply. A plan crystallized in my mind, sharper than any I'd ever written in code. I opened my laptop and drafted an email to my company's HR department, attaching the video, the group chat screenshots, and Uncle Robert's messages. I explained the threats my family had made, the possibility they might attempt to sabotage my reputation, and provided clear, time-stamped evidence. Better to be proactive than blindsided. Over the next few days, texts from Diane, Martin, and Ethan flooded my phone, each message dripped with escalating urgency and guilt. "Times are tough, sweetheart," Diane wrote. "Family needs to stick together." Ethan chimed in separately, trying a different tactic. "Heard some layoffs are happening in tech. Must be scary. Good thing you have family to rely on, if you help us out." I forwarded everything to Grace, who reassured me each time. "This just proves their intentions. Stay strong." I also kept Uncle Robert in the loop. He offered me unwavering support, reminding me I wasn't alone. 3 days before the mortgage payment was due, Grace and I met in her office. She laid out the prepared paperwork, the notice of default, the purchase option exercise document, and even eviction notices, just in case. "Everything is ready," she said, looking me in the eye. "They signed these documents themselves. They have no legal ground to fight this." As I reviewed each page, I felt a quiet strength settle over me. Years of emotional manipulation had kept me in their grasp, but now I had the power, and I wasn't going to let them strip it away again. This time, I was ready for whatever came next. 2 days before the payment deadline, my phone buzzed with a call from Diane. Her voice carried a practiced warmth that barely masked the simmering desperation beneath. "Charlotte, sweetheart," she began, dragging out each syllable. "We need your answer about the mortgage help. Times are so hard and family needs to stick together." I took a steadying breath, recalling every cruel word from their secret chat, every threat they whispered behind my back. "Don't worry, Mom," I replied, my tone measured. "Everything will be clear very soon." That night, I received an email notification from their bank. Their account was overdrawn. The attempted payment to Horizon Investments had bounced. They'd spent the money they needed for the mortgage, probably on the designer bracelets and new gadgets I'd noticed at dinner. I forwarded the notification to Grace, who replied within minutes. "Here we go. Want me to initiate the purchase option tomorrow morning?" I hesitated, then typed back, "No. Let's wait until the payment officially fails. Let them believe everything is fine for a couple more days. Timing matters." They'd taught me that well. Patience could be a devastating weapon. The next morning, I opened my laptop and began drafting a detailed email to my company's HR team, summarizing my family's threats and including Uncle Robert's video and screenshots. I knew they might still try to follow through on their plan to sabotage my career, but I was determined to be one step ahead. If they called my HR with wild stories, they'd only expose themselves as liars. Each hour that passed felt like an eternity. Diane's texts grew more frantic. Ethan sent veiled insults disguised as concern. "You know, it's dangerous to hold out on your family. After all we've done for you, this could really ruin relationships." Martin's messages carried an air of paternal authority. He still assumed I would fear. "We won't tolerate disrespect, Charlotte. Don't make us take steps you can't undo." But every message only strengthened my resolve. I ignored their calls, letting each ring out as I focused on preparations with Grace. Uncle Robert checked in daily, his voice calm and reassuring. "They can't touch you anymore, Charlotte," he reminded me. "They lost their power the moment you saw who they really were." The night before the deadline, I walked through my apartment, memories flooding back of sleepless nights spent worrying about them. The guilt that once gnawed at me when I considered pulling back support. But now, I felt none of that. I felt free. At exactly 9 a.m. on payment day, Horizon Investments' automated system sent out the default notice. I watched the clock tick, counting the minutes until they realized their safety net had vanished. At 9:12 a.m., my phone rang, Diane's number flashing across the screen. My heart was steady as I answered, ready to finally speak my truth. As I stood alone in the empty house that had once been filled with laughter, holiday meals, and illusions of love, I realized what this journey had taught me. Sometimes, the hardest truths come from the people we expect to protect us. And sometimes, the greatest act of love we can give ourselves is to walk away from those who only know how to take. For years, I believed that loyalty meant sacrificing myself for family. That to be a good daughter, a good sister, I had to ignore the insults, swallow the pain, and keep giving until there was nothing left. I thought forgiveness was the only way to keep peace. But true family doesn't hold love hostage. It doesn't manipulate, threaten, or destroy. Real family celebrates your strength, lifts you when you're weak, and respects your choices even when they don't understand them. Standing in that silent kitchen where they once called me worthless, I understood I wasn't the burden, I was the backbone. And when a backbone finally refuses to carry what it shouldn't, it may cause tremors, but it also brings long overdue change. Choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's a necessity when those closest to you have forgotten how to love without strings attached. This story isn't just mine. So many of us have faced family members, friends, or partners who drain our light and call it love. If you've ever felt trapped by guilt or weighed down by expectations you didn't ask for, I hope my journey reminds you that you are allowed to set boundaries, you are allowed to say no, and you are allowed to protect your heart and your future. When we talk about values, we often hear words like loyalty, respect, and love. But love without respect is just control dressed up in sweet words. Loyalty that demands silence in the face of cruelty is not loyalty, it's surrender. True values start with valuing yourself first, because only then can you truly give to others without losing who you are. To those reading or watching, I invite you to share your thoughts below. Have you ever faced a moment when you had to stand up for yourself, even against those you thought would always stand with you? What did you learn about your own strength? Your stories matter, not just to me, but to everyone who needs to know they're not alone in these struggles. If this story resonated with you, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who might need to hear it today. Together, let's build a community where kindness doesn't come with conditions, and love doesn't demand you shrink yourself to fit someone else's expectations. Because sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is choose yourself, and that's a value worth fighting for.